Minneapolis and central Iowa,
Were
and
you up in Minnesota?
coming back, I came through Minneapolis. I like to check in on part of everything still.
Yeah, there's a guy.
So, but yeah, really good. I'll talk to you about it later.
Right? Like not even big of a parking space, right? It's just you guys want.
Nobody else.
Nobody else. No.
And I'm like, oh, I wonder if this is the guy. that's-
Okay.
Um,
Trying to put some
So now,
bumpers on it.
so now he's tearing, he's going out the chain link, and I think he's putting up. Pipes, so you can see it, but it's literally right in his. It's supposed to be 10 foot. up there, based on the zoning that I did this one.
Stu, do I need to join something here or am I? Do I need to join this?
To the city calendar. To go to. the calendar.
Where is this? Go away. Okay, see, calendar. This is the January. Do not join with computer audio. Have a choice of joining with computer audio.
What's that?
From Brett Station, he does not have.
Okay. And it's just not that those audio
Oh, it's you,
attached to it.
I'll let you do it. Hello.
I did. We got it.
I'll do a share screen.
Yeah, so did you have the?
No,
stuff
it
up
came in my
already?
mailbox this time, I think,
Okay,
unless he handed it off.
maybe minimize that, so make it
He
easier on me to
did.
pull them up, maybe.
Okay, okay. Well, thanks for dropping that off, Brett. I didn't realize you'd dropped that on my patio, so appreciate it. That's service right there. Thank you, man.
Service with a smile. No, I dropped the packets off on Thursday because we weren't sure if we put them out in the mail Friday. Thursday, they get to you Friday because sometimes we get mail service on Saturday, sometimes you don't.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I thought it came in the mail, but it came via Brett, so appreciate it.
You just need. Oh, no, don't do opposite.
Are we having public participation tonight? Anybody contacted you yet? We might. The chicken issue has reared its ugly beak.
Respect the mic.
That would have been so nice. Or a chicken man costume, and even more. Life and color, yes, I absolutely agree.
Beavers one on Saturday. Beavers one on Saturday. Let's showdown with the Oregon down in Corvallis. Oh, But again, Oregon State, Oregon, San Diego, not exactly top one either. We didn't lose to Drake, what can I say? Even was the one today, yeah. I thought.
It's like the chicken debate of 2024 is not gonna happen.
Morning.
Our biology discussion was left out of the minutes.
Mr. Capone. Good, and you? I have to come to these meetings to see you now.
Ooh,
The guys. Yes, that's nice.
Yeah. Call this regularly scheduled meeting of the Cheney Planning Commission for Monday, September 9th, 2024 to order. Our first order of business is citizen participation. Do we have anybody online at all? Venture is a city councilman, right? Okay, just want to make sure, want to give you an opportunity if you want to speak. I know you've been used to having this microphone before, so. Okay, moving on to item number 3, approval of the minutes of July 8th, 2024 regular board meeting. Everybody had an opportunity to review those? If so, any changes, additions, corrections that need to be had?
Motion to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the minutes of the regularly scheduled meeting of July 8th, 2024. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Is that anything we need to worry about? Okay.
Just up in the background, David Early's Zoom.
Okay, moving on to item number 4, public hearing. Number 2024-07, zoning text amendment, urban poultry keeping. Okay. Okay, welcome to tonight's public hearing, urban poultry keeping. So as we talked about last time we were here, I think a couple months ago, we discussed the idea conceptually, bringing back an ordinance on dealing with chickens. It was suggested that I come back with one. In your packets tonight, you have a copy of the draft ordinance. It's about 95% there. And so I'm going to walk you through the ordinance as is and kind of walk you through what little loose ends we need to kind of wrap up. And then looking for your blessing tonight. If you guys are good with this conceptually, then we'll probably bring this to council either later in September or probably in. Thank you. So basically, we created a new section in the code at section 21.72.010, which is for chickens. Basically, we would allow for chickens in our R1 single family zone, R2 duplex zone, CALR, critical area limited residential, and industrial zones. The definition of chickens is under the small animals in our Cheney code definitions. So here's kind of the meat and potatoes of it, so to say. Which is basically up to a total of 6 chickens, hens or turkeys, maybe kept on lots less than 10,000 square feet inside. Lots that are greater than 10,000 square feet may have 1 chicken per 1,000 square feet, not exceeding a total of 20 fowl. No roosters. Chickens need to be kept in a well ventilated enclosed coop. Coop and run combined shall be a minimum of 10 square feet. All coops shall be located in the rear yard only. Coops should be at least 10 feet from any property line. All coops should be kept neat and sanitary. So that's really the meat and potatoes of the code. We are kind of fleshing out the enforcement side of it right now. Basically, go through our normal process for code enforcement. So the code enforcement officer were to visit a property based on a complaint that, hey, there's 10 chickens on a parcel that we only allow for 6. She would send a letter saying, hey, you have 2 weeks to correct this. Second letter, third letter, so total 6 weeks. Then the normal civil infraction process with the ticket, a citation and so forth. I think that's still the route we're going, but Mike here is working that out with Verlin as we speak, and we should have that finalized out here soon. You want to?
Sure, yeah, no, that was one thing I pointed out. I asked Vera Lynn to take a look at it today too, to make sure from an enforcement perspective, she felt comfortable with it and she thought it was fine. The question is, what is the penalty gonna be? And so if we're gonna tie this like to the nuisance statute or something like that, I think we need to specifically add that to the code, that the fines would track.
And any type of abatement process.
Yeah, I think that would probably make sense, actually. Same opportunities available. And I know traditionally she sends out 2 or 3 letters before she starts imposing fines too. So.
Mike, there's the thought process here, because that's one of the things I underlined, because naturally I went to the code and looked at it and said, I don't see anything there under subsection 8 that tells me what's gonna happen. Are those going to be published as part of the ordinance, what the penalties would be?
That's what I'm recommending, is that we tie it to the ordinance that gives us the authority to assess the cost.
Thank you.
Unless council decides that greater or lesser fine or something. I don't know what is the fine right now.
It's not, I think it's somewhere around that neighborhood.
But a block from Vince's house and a block from my house on Saturday morning, I saw 5 chickens and a duck out in the roadway. So I thought this is very appropriate to take up tonight.
Well, there's 6 of them, so they're good.
Well, no, because the ordinance says they have to be in a pen.
Okay, sorry. I stand corrected.
I wanted to bring up the idea, are we discriminating against ducks and geese? Because I don't see them listed in there. And I can tell you, having grown up with geese, they're not any better than a rooster. They're likely to go all night when the cars come by and the kids come in late.
So one other thing I brought up with Vera Lynn is I asked her if we know of any residents who currently have a number of coops or fowl that would be in violation. She wasn't aware of any specifically, but the issue you could run into is with non-conforming use or a vested right. So if somebody tonight, before council had a chance to vote on this, decided, we'll have to, you can still phase that out. If we ran into that situation, we could give them a reasonable amount of time, a year or 2 years to come into conformance. But that's just an issue. She was not aware of anybody right now.
In our discussion last time, and I think it's in the minutes, there was one person that had like 24. It was brought up. Do we know?
I think it's threatening, well, I shouldn't say threatening, that was their intent, is to have.
Oh, okay.
Should we-
I think somebody called Vera Lynn on her personal phone
Yeah.
and said.
Okay.
There's a residence on Vine right now who might be in violation of how we have it worded here now. And I only noticed it just driving by, and he's got a coop right up against his fence. And now I notice he's taking down his chain link fence to put up a wood fence.
I'm also aware of a situation that would not be in compliance. I thought they were gonna contact the planning commission, but they didn't.
One thing we could think about doing maybe before council passes this is to include some kind of provision that accounts for anybody who's got a non-conforming use, something that would be in violation of this and give them a reasonable. Generally speaking, we wouldn't be tagged with taking so long as we give them a reasonable amount of time where they've essentially recouped their investment. I don't know how much a chicken costs these days or what it costs to put a coop. When the quantity of eggs would somehow. That's something.
I think there tends to be a pretty high attrition rate for those chickens too, between foxes and all the sorts of things that can happen. So that probably takes care of itself after a year or two, like you said, if there's a 2-year window or something like that.
Is that something we want to flesh out before we send it to council, or is that something that we take at the council level?
What you have tonight is basically a 90%, 95% ordinance. Obviously, as you know, there are a few things that still need to be fleshed out in terms of the enforcement side of it, in terms of the get back into voluntary compliance, if there's something's out of compliance now. We can either approve this tonight with the idea that Mike and I flesh this out before we get it to council. or you can want to flesh some of the language out tonight, you're more than welcome to. Kind of up to you guys.
Well, I've got one little thing, and maybe, is it intended that you have up to six, or you have 6 chickens up to 10,000 square feet and then 1,000 square feet thereafter, you can have one? Or what I'm seeing here is if I've got 9,990 square feet, I can have 6 chickens, but my neighbor that's 10 feet over the 10,000 on the other side can have 10 chickens. I mean, there seems to be a little inequity there. Can we just say basically that you can have 6 up to 10,000 square feet and then 1 per 1,000 square feet after, to kind of make it seem, does that make sense?
Well, that's kind of what it says here. It says up to 6 total on lots less than 10,000 square feet.
Yeah, but then it says the lots that are greater than 10,000 square feet might have 1 chicken per 1,000 square feet. So I read that to say I can have 10 chickens on my lot if I've got 10,001 square feet. Maybe I'm interpreting that wrong. If you're thinking that it's flushed out already, so be it.
There's very few parcels that are probably gonna meet that requirement. But yeah, I mean, I can see that interpretation. That's something Mike and I can maybe flesh out a little bit. See if we can clarify that language. Over
You
the
can have up
10,000.
to 6 chickens up to 10,000 square feet, then 1 per 1,000 after. That kind of
Get
clears
6 up
that
to
up.
10 grand, and then ever for
Yeah.
11,000, you get the 6 plus 1.
Yep.
So you get total 7. We'll flesh that language out, yeah.
Did you want to specifically call out geese, like that was meant, as mentioned earlier,
We can,
not allowed?
Add that to it.
I think you need to, because, you know, ducks lay eggs, and if somebody wants to bake a cake, a duck egg is supposedly one of the best things to put in a cake. Geese are another story when it comes to noise.
It's true. And mess.
Mm.
okay, yeah, we can include geese not being permitted. And ducks,
Include ducks as allowable or
not.
not?
No ducks, no geese.
Yeah.
There's a
Good
third
book.
thing is domestic fowl, and then there's exotic animals. I don't know where the line is. It's not my specialty.
The ostrich clause, is that what we're talking about here?
Well, the ostrich, the emu, it's just like if we were down in Louisiana,
Yeah.
the gator. When is that a pet? When is that an exotic animal?
Got it.
So I have a question for the board. Do we want to bring this back after the changes are made? Do we want to approve that with these changes? What's your preference here?
We can make these changes and come back to you guys in October with a revised ordinance with giving a month for Mike and I to flesh it out.
I'd probably prefer to give the council a full recommendation.
Yeah, we can come back, okay? Yeah, I like the perspective you guys have and the thoughts here. This is what we're looking for. If there's anything else you guys come up with, feel free to email me. Then we're we're not missing, but we'll add the stuff in there about the geese and ducks, clarify A and B, and then we'll clarify the abatement process.
Out of curiosity, how is this put out to the public for the folks who are already, might already be in violation?
Well, we put notice in the paper about the hearing tonight, and then the other thing, as far as those that may be in violation, if it's a code enforcement complaint, we'd have a virulent contact them directly and walk them through and figure out a way to come to resolution.
And I think we would put some on the website too.
Yeah.
Once this is a new ordinance, to look into if questions call.
Vince, you had a comment?
Yeah, where do you guys land on the ducks? I think it was pretty clear, no to geese, but I think there are several people that do have ducks.
I think you need to be all inclusive, so you don't have any issue. You know, Mike would be able to tell us any issue of discriminating of one fowl with another fowl, because we reference in the policy fowl. Clearly ducks are fowl.
Are they domestic fowl?
They can be.
Historically, they are.
My granddaughter has one,
So I'm confused there. Ducks are in or out?
and
In. Okay,
Ducks are okay.
yeah, I think you need to be all inclusive.
Ducks are in, geese are out.
got it.
So we're in, okay.
Okay, wait a minute, I'm not understanding that. What I'm saying is that all fowl are subject to to this policy. So you can't have, you know, unless I'm misunderstanding and we want geese not to be included at all in the fowl.
Yeah, I mean,
That's why I asked.
I mean, the original intent of this whole idea or this chicken ordinance is basically the idea of having a handful of chickens to have fresh eggs. And that was kind of the scope of the whole thing.
We have here chickens, hens, and turkeys. We're enabling people to have that. It sounds like we also want to enable ducks as well.
Mhm.
Correct. And then is that more than what you guys envision here of a chicken ordinance for farm fresh eggs? Or do we want? Maybe I need to go watch some more Foghorn Leghorn cartoons on Saturday morning.
Well, I think the problem is if you have big ambiguity, then, you know, people are gonna start bringing up all sorts of animals. So we either slam the door shut with the, you know, an inclusive list or not list, or
Yeah.
we leave it open to have a modification to the ordinance down the road.
Yeah.
So no roosters or geese may be kept, right? But you can include hens or turkeys or ducks.
Guinea fowl.
That's good.
I hear no, yes.
Otherwise, we're gonna be having emus before you know it.
Okay, we'll sit down.
Or exotic animals, no turkeys, geese, or exotic animals, something like that. I don't
So
know.
specifically saying chickens, hens, turkeys, ducks are allowable.
Are okay, but nothing beyond.
Okay.
Yeah,
Anything else we're missing?
I like the idea of including geese with the roosters
Oh,
Yeah, we
yes.
can put these down there.
based upon David's comment. I've been lucky. I've never lived next to any geese, so I wasn't aware of that because I didn't grow up on a farm. So thanks for enlightening us, David.
So
Welcome.
no roosters.
Yep.
And or geese.
So, yeah, we can easily come back to you next month with the updated ordinance. To see if we captured everything.
We need a motion on
Two, on the penalties, are you thinking it seems reasonable or fair to tie that to what we do for a nuisance as well?
Yes, I do.
Sunset clause too, as far as anybody who's currently non-conforming, just 2 years.
I don't see why more than a year. I mean, a year to me seems pretty reasonable. to Take down a.
Mhm.
That can be in the statute.
Yours sounds good to me. I got no hen in that fight.
Now it starts.
We don't want anybody to run off foul of the ordinance.
Okay, are we clear on the direction, Brad?
Rein us in, rein us in.
We're clear in the direction. Mike and I will sit down, figure some stuff out. We'll come back in October.
Appreciate that.
Yep, no problems.
Okay, moving on to item number 5, discussion item number 2024-08, tax increment financing and opportunity zones for economic development.
Okay, this presentation, so a couple months ago, was asked by council to research, tax increment financing and opportunity zones as a way to juice economic development a little bit in Cheney. And then the other thing I want to talk to you a little bit about is basically, populations called ALICE, which is basically, low-income populations above poverty but not thriving. And basically, some of the hurdles, especially here in Cheney, we have to kind of overcome to drive economic development. So I'll kind of walk you through tax increment financing opportunity zones, pros and cons of each. Where we stand, ways to go, what's easier for us to do if we decide to go forward with one of the options and go on from there. So, tax increment financing, basically it's a financing tool. That allows local governments to get a incremental increase in the property taxes and use that incremental increase to go back to the local jurisdiction to fund economic development activities. So basically it's defined, either a city, a town, or district can use this RCW. It can be used for public improvements and things like that in the desired area, so forth. So basically, we define the geography. So we can say, hey, we're gonna do both sides of First Street between Union and Cheney Spokane Road, or wherever the geography is. We pull the assessment parcel data down in our GIS system, and we select the parcels that are gonna be included in the district boundary. I like that a lot because A, it's easier to go through the county than state and feds. Number two, we define the geography that best suits us. When we get in opportunity zones, you have to use a census tract. Census tracts do not line up with city limit boundaries. Here we can define this really to our custom needs, and so forth. So during the process here, I actually did have a conversation with Tom Konis, the county assessor, and his staff. And basically, he kind of walked me through the process for us to go forward with it. So basically, we determined which RCW we want to use. The assessor will need a map of the tax increment financing and legal descriptions, so we put that together with them. They'll need to make sure that if it overlaps other taxing districts and areas, how that kind of separates out. They have a levy office in the assessor's office that kind of handles the carving all that up. They have to make sure it's on the calendar year with annexation, so we were actually carving up and then assessing at the right time. It gets kind of complicated, but there's a process. So if we were to create one, say 2025, it probably actually doesn't come effective until 2026, 27 to get all the pieces lined up in order. So there's a little bit of a lag time there. Assessor will need time to have a new tax code area according to the treasurer's office, and became the collection process, so forth. So now, tax increment financing, the process to do it is 100% through the county assessor's office. So it's very local. We kind of work with them. We work it out, and go from there. So it's pretty much, we as a community define the geography. So council, planning commission will sit together, define the area that's going to be included in the tax increment financing district. Then the other thing we'll have to come up with is a list of projects, if we do get this approved, of what we're going to use it to spend on that's going to improve economic development downtown, wherever the geography is.
What are some of the, give me an example of what that would be? That you're setting up, taxing, what are we gonna be using for those tax dollars? You said infrastructure.
Could be public improvements, it could be curbs, gutters, and sidewalks. Example of this being done is the Hilliard area of Spokane. They have some tax increment financing districts up there, in areas around that area up there, where they've used that to do street improvements and other things that kind of incentivize people to spend some money in the community and do economic development. It's kind of that whole idea that if the community sees value in the area, we're putting some money into it. Then we're hoping the property owner sees value in it, and they'll put some money into it, and it's kind of mushrooms off of one another. That's kind of the idea.
And we would look at these areas or these zones with the infrastructure that's already there, for example, the roadways and sidewalks, but also the bus system. My understanding is those that fit into that category use the bus system a lot, so we'd want to make sure that those zones are there to help those individuals.
Correct. We can work in concert with STA, that kind of stuff. Yeah. Yeah, there's an opportunity to work in concert with different groups and organizations that we can piggyback dollars and stuff. So if STA has some dollars and we have some dollars, we can actually put that together. So let's say you had a piece of property that was worth, it says worth $500,000 today. And this system went into place, and let's say over time and it was sold, somebody else bought it and the property value went up to $700,000. So it's that $200,000 increment in value is a portion of that dollars in property taxes go back into the fund. So that's kind of how it works. I mean, it's a very simple example, but that's kind of the,
And council prioritizes what that goes into like water, infrastructure, sewer,
Correct.
roads.
correct.
Is
So
this
we
the one where
basically-
you're borrowing against those taxes? Is that the way it works? So you build the infrastructure and then you pay it back with the taxes over time? Is that the mechanism, or am I thinking of something different?
Intersection can get going in agreement with developers, say if he puts so much money into this, we can those dollars with our TIF.
Oh, that's the Thomas
But that-
Mellon Road example up
Yeah,
Geiger,
Big
right?
Cigar.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's kind of case by case and exactly specifically what you're trying to do.
Yeah, so basically, focus on that area. So,
Brad, don't ever apologize for making it simple.
hey, simple works for me. So basically, there's some limitations, local governments can have up to 2 active increment areas within the city limits. Or our area, since value, increment area can exceed 200 million or 20% of the sponsoring jurisdiction's value. So again, those are things we'll have to work out with the county assessor to see what the valuation is and all that kind of good stuff off the parcels. There's a sunset date for an area of 25 years to you spend the dollars, which is good. Forces us to do something with it. So basically, as those dollars are collected, they're kind of put into an account for us. So to say, and that account is where we can pull money out of. So it's kind of a designated account for us. And so forth. So,
And you can renew them too, I believe.
yeah, he talked to me a little bit about that, the renewal process. So there's some caveats and things like that. When I talked to their levy guys, it was kind of the 30,000 foot elevation kind of overview. Just to get some ideas. So when we talked tonight, I had some ideas at least what the process would be. And things like that. So basically creating the increment area, basically we'll have to kind of do a project analysis defining that area. Identify parcels to be included, expectations, and things like that. So we'll put a little, it basically is like a short narrative. Thing that kind of goes with the application to the county for increment district of kind of what our expectations are. And things like that. So. Together for the.
Brett, do I understand, is the funding from this, we identified the geography on this, where the 2 zones might be. We identify the projects, and then is the money raised from within those zones, or does the money come from the entire tax base of the community?
It's just in those zones.
Okay, thank you.
If we make the zone too small, it makes it very challenging
Don't
to,
make enough money.
larger the zone, the faster to get the money because you have more parcels to spread it out over.
Right.
So,
And so is the money, the tax increment is the difference between business owner bought a piece of ground at $50,000, now it's $100,000 2 years later. So the tax increment is that $50,000, correct?
correct.
But if he doesn't sell that property, he does not get any revenue from it. So he's being taxed on value that's not actually realized on his property. Is that correct?
No, the county assessor will use a baseline value of the property when you start the TIF district. And
Okay.
then when the properties get reassessed year after year,
Oh, okay.
changes.
The idea is you grow your tax base. So as your tax base grows, you collect more you collect more taxes as it grows incrementally.
Gotcha. Okay.
New tax, and it's not the tax of the existing property. That's not taxable. It's just the gains
Yes.
in value. That's that
Yeah,
tax.
as the assessor assesses it
Okay.
going forward.
So assessed value or improved value or whatever, different, okay.
Okay.
By using this valuation, it makes it easy in terms of everybody can go to Scout, pull up a parcel, get that information, what the valuation is. And you can see the valuation over time.
Kind of think of the PDA, like the West Plains PDA, as they develop more, they they put more money into their infrastructure, the roads.
Got it.
So if you have, let's say, a vacant piece of land today was worth X dollars, then you went in and built a, say, 200,000 square foot warehouse. Well, that, like say, the Amazon's parcel, that now has a higher value because it's now developed versus vacant. So now it's been assessed at a higher value. So that difference in valuation would be would be the incremental difference. Assuming that was in a TIF district.
Okay.
Projects, it can help with job creation, help with affordable housing, low income housing, things like that. So it's a variety of projects. And we'd work with the county just to make sure we have the approved list of what can be used for this going forward, so. So that's tax increment financing. It's kind of the easy way to go. Opportunity zones is another program that's through the federal government, through HUD and the Internal Revenue Service, which was signed a while back in 2017. Low income opportunity census tracts were the basis for determining opportunity zones. So look at your census tract, look at the amount of population that's low income. So on a kind of case by case basis. Has to have a poverty rate of at least 20%. Median family income up to 80% of the area median income. In a weird way, Cheney actually does well in this category. We actually qualify really well because we have a lot of folks that are in the lower income categories. You have to go through the governor's office to get nominated. So that's a long process. Airway Heights has an opportunity zone, actually in Airway Heights proper, not over there by Walmart or Hayford. When I talked to Albert Tripp about this, a while back, he says they've hadn't had a lot of success with the opportunity zone. Because they're getting so much development over there by Hayford, that's actually driving the development, not the opportunity zone itself. So he didn't think of it as a great thing, it wasn't a bad thing either. He was kind of ambivalent on the whole thing of, yeah, it's here, we have it, but we're not really pushing it hard. You do get a tax deferral at the federal level. So if you do an opportunity zone, and you do development in there, you as the developer are getting it on the back end through your income taxes. That's kind of how it's done. Now, the caveat is for Cheney is on this map here. So the city limits are shown here in brown around the city, but we have actually 3 census tracts that bisect the city of Cheney. Census tracts up for one here, basically going up to Golden Hill, Washington, and First Street is kind of only one census tract, probably 4. Get that worked. Otherwise, we have 2 other tracks that go part in the city and part out of the city. So we'd have to be very selective about what we do. And I'm not too sure that triangle piece really gets to where we need to be. The parcels, we have some parcels probably inside that triangle and outside that triangle. We probably really want to get in for a better thing for Cheney. And that's where I think the tax increment financing is the easier route to do it, because then we customize that geography versus using a pre-described geography from the US Census Bureau. So plus again, I have to get the governor's office, which nothing will happen for the next few months until, because I got an outgoing governor now. So until we have a new governor in January, they probably wouldn't even look at this. Quite honestly. So whoever it might be. So that's it on opportunity zones. So those are the 2 different processes. This is really purely an informational item to you guys tonight, just to kind of walk you through the 2 processes that we have in front of us. We'll probably have another discussion on this at an upcoming council committee meeting or 2, maybe a council as well, just to discuss the different ways forward. If we want to go forward with one of these or not. I don't think it's been decided we have to, or we will. It's just, we wanted just some information out there for everybody. So any questions on tax increment financing? Yeah.
I've got 2. You said you already presented this presentation to council?
No, I had a less polished version I took to a council committee.
What was their general reaction?
They wanted more information on how the tax increment financing system worked. That's why I'll reach out to the assessor's office to get a little more information on that.
And second, do you have an area of Cheney you'd like to establish a TIF in, or
I haven't come up with one specifically, but I can definitely come up with a map.
measure one off the top of your head, like you said First Street, or where would it make sense to you?
I would think, First Street probably going down towards, at least Union, maybe down towards Washington. To get in some stuff down where the old Sears store is, that area, both sides of First, probably at least up until Cheney Spokane Road. Intersection there where the Cheney Market is, I think, yes, and disinvestment along that section of First Street where it curves up there. From First Street, from Cheney Spokane up to Safeway, it's a little different animal up there. You have some different businesses, more auto-centric stuff. If we wanted to, we can include, section of Cheney Spokane Road, went out towards city limits if we wanted to as well. So we can actually do a pretty customized geography there. I would think First Street would be the ideal one. Again, we have some sections on the north end of First Street up there by the 1900 block where the Cheney Motel used to be. I think that's kind of a prime area. And then I think some sections are on the west end of First Street. And we have some challenges even further out west out there where Alpaca used to be. That's a closed up shop. Maybe that even gets looked at as well, parts down there. That's a conversation we as a community need to have, and then we kind of figure this out. There's no one easy answer. We could have two separate zones, one for one end, keeping downtown core kind of untouched, and one for the other end. We can do it that way as well. So I haven't come up with a map. That's just kind of what's in my head.
So I'm hearing you saying they were just looking for supplemental mechanisms. They didn't have any specific target in mind.
No.
Yeah, it's just tools.
Yeah, we're just looking at tools in the toolbox that we can use to use economic development a little bit in Cheney.
Are these both, well, at least with this one, is this a legislative action? I mean, can the council decide, or do they have to get it set up and then the community has to, or like a RID, the area has to have a stake in it or something like that?
Good question. I don't know. I believe it's council action. Working with the county, but I'll have to double check with the county assessor to see if that's something would have to go to a vote of the people. I don't believe it does.
Okay.
Would have to get back to you on that. We can do it here. Any other questions on opportunity zone?
I guess my last question would be, if we do establish a TIF or opportunity zone, what would you like to prioritize in terms of the tax dollars going towards?
Yeah, that's a conversation we haven't had yet. So that's another thing we would have to have as far as, would you like to see street improvements? Would you like to see some utility work done? We've been talking about different things, what I call plan update here, broadband, other things, to make sure we really, can we turn Cheney into a place with other cities are looking at this in other parts of the country with more remote workers. And now, hey, you can work in another part of the country. My job is here. How can our community be an attraction for you to grow? I was just reading an article the other day with, where's the community? It's, Cumberland, Maryland, up in the Panhandle region. They're paying people up to $10,000 to relocate there. And
That's
develop.
coming.
Cumberland is an interesting area, Appalachia, probably Frostburg. I kind of like it over there. I mean, it's kind of some really neat geography, but it's hard to travel. It's seen some rough times. Shopping malls, pretty well closed up shop. There's not seen reinvestment. This is their way of trying to get people to come in. Don't know how successful it will be. It might be just be enough just to get on the media, and that may be enough to drive a little bit of it. They might do some more. I will find that article and I'll email to you guys this coming week. But it's one way other cities and other parts of the country are looking at ways, how do we, if we're having seen declining population, how do we get people to come here?
Personally, for me, I think it all starts with housing, increasing all types of housing. We're gonna move forward. I would recommend making that one of the priorities. Attract people without housing.
Yeah, it has to be good housing. It can't be, rundown housing. It has to be good housing to say, hey, I want to come here. Good parks, good schools. These are all things that are attracting people to come to a community. So housing. So, Yeah, I'll double check here with, the county assessor on the vote, or if it's council action, I'm not sure on that. I'll email you guys the article. And, like I said, we'll probably circle back on this at a later date. This is purely informational item, just to kind of get it out there, see what the talk is.
Brett, for a company like an Amazon who buys a piece of ground, such as what they bought out at the 72 exit, and then develops it as greatly as they did, and their tax increment goes up so greatly. Is that at all seen as a negative to attracting something as big as that? Or is this more of a kind of a small enterprise kind of an attractant?
Generally, more of a small enterprise deal. It can be for bigger, big corporations. Again, somebody as big as Amazon, they're probably just not gonna change their bottom line on this one. But again, those incremental dollars will come back to the county. Let's say there was a TIF, let's say that was in the airport PDA, let's say it was. That would come back and that could be used to spur on some other property there by the airport for development. Maybe it's something to do with Boeing or the aircraft industry, doing parts or doing components or something. So again, it's all the little things together lift the whole region up, and that's the whole idea of this whole thing, is to do some stuff. For instance, right now, if you look at the Geiger exit off of I-90, when Odom relocated across Geiger, what you see out there is a bunch of logistics companies all moved in out there. So there's all kinds of trucking operations, which probably necessitates probably the county at some point looking at some other road improvements there.
Redoing, they did the interchange and now they're doing the 4-lane interchange.
Yeah.
Weird.
So, yeah, there's, again, as things come, other improvements will happen. But again, the whole idea of this whole thing is you improve some areas, you attract some businesses, some better development. The idea is you're also going to be attracting median and family wage jobs, which is what the region needs.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So at the end of the day, this is all kind of looked at it from a regional perspective.
All those Amazon areas, those are 20, 30, 50, 90 acre parcels too. I
Yeah.
can't imagine we have a lot of that. So it'd be kind of a smaller venue that would want to come and develop in Cheney, I would imagine.
Yeah, there might be a ability to use this tax financing for the business park.
Yeah.
Could be maybe looped into it as well, if there's some ways to kind of, again, do some stuff out there.
Do we have
maybe-
sizable parcels in the business park?
We have a couple 20-acre ones.
Do we?
and
Oh,
some
okay.
Lots of 5s and 10s.
Okay.
It depends, if you're running into, say, a small trucking operation where you need offloading area, a cross-dock platform where you have one size truck coming in with product, then it goes out there on, say, smaller trucks, like a UPS distribution center. Then you might have something, you might want to have two different driveways, where you can kind of loop trucks in and out. So that's what you'd be having on the larger 20-acre parcels. Just depends on the business and what their needs are.
Yeah.
If you look at a Walmart distribution center, they're very uniquely designed. There's one in Hermiston near Pendleton, right off the I-82, I-84 interchange. Why they want truck traffic to Portland.
That's a rails.
And it's a rail center. So comes down to transportation. So the other thing I want to talk to you tonight is basically Alice population. This is kind of a struggle for us. So Alice is basically asset limited, income constrained, but employed populations. Basically, these are folks earning more than the federal poverty level, but not enough to afford the basics where they live. So when we had here a couple months ago, we had the washout was here, state planning commission with various folks. And this is brought up about Eastern region about, hey, do you guys have any issues with Alice populations? And I hadn't heard about this before. Something not on my radar, did a little digging around, reached out to United for Alice and discovered that Washington is a participatory state, which means we have good data. Washington, Oregon, and Idaho are participatory, Montana and California are not, which means that we have this kind of data about our populations at the county level, zip code level, city level, and block group level. So you really can start seeing the nitty gritty of how a community works. For other states that are not participatory, this data really isn't available at the granular level. basically, these are households, in poverty, forced to make tough choices. Do you pay for childcare? Do you pay for rent this month? Data comes from United for Alice. They're back in New Jersey, and so forth. And they do this for the whole country at a very high level and then granular state by state. So I pulled it for Spokane County and State of Washington. Results were as expected. Cheney's the highest. At 55% of the population in Cheney is either Alice or poverty. So again, reason this is an issue is if you're a business looking to locate to an area, you're probably not going to locate an area with those high levels. Unless it's a service business or business that kind of basically, so that population is their basics for income or basis for business, Dollar Tree. To be looking for a low income population because that's what the business model works on. And things like that. So here it is for the cities in Spokane County. Cedarway Heights here is about 45%. Cheney here is the highest, 55. Deer Park, so low poverty and Alice, Deer Park's about 45%. Fairchild is lower. Lake, Old Nine Yards, 20%. Why they just got alcohol. Medical Lake is really low, Millwood, and Spokane Valley is right around 40%. So this is where we struggle. And then it kind of came to my attention, well, are we unique here in Spokane County? We kind of are. But are we unique compared to other college towns? So Cheney is not unique compared to other college towns. We're on the high end still, but we're similar to Pullman, a little higher than Ellensburg. But we're not competing against those places for residents. We're still competing against other places in Spokane County and for businesses. So because of that, this is something we have to kind of get around. And we can use the comprehensive plan update here as a tool to start putting some things in motion so that in 10, 20, 30 years, we're at a better position to attract business. So I pulled it. So this is basically a map showing, it's probably hard to read here. You can see with Cheney here, we're the middle one is a little bit higher than the rest. And I can send you a copy of this presentation. But this is the geographic representation of Spokane County, how we look. But critical here is this slide here. So I pulled the college towns for the Pacific Northwest. I pulled so every one thing that was not a major city, so that didn't, Eugene is not in this one, neither is Seattle, because they're more than college. So these are all college focused towns for the most part. As you can see on here, Cheney's the highest in Pullman at around, again, close to 60%. Well, all of them are probably in the 40 to 50% range. So we're not that far off the basics. But this is just wanted to do a quick comparison here on college towns. And then the other thing here is another chart here. While we don't have historical data for Cheney going back to 2010, I emailed them, they did not release it, but I do have county level population that goes back to 2010. So I have a chart here with Kittitas County, which is Ellensburg, Spokane County, Whatcom County, which is Bellingham, and Whitman County, which is Pullman. And historically to see are Alice populations and poverty traits trending downward for the county, going kind of straight or going up. And by and large, they're pretty much, they fluctuate a little bit here and there, but by and large, they're not really going up or down big time. They're kind of flatlined at the county level. That's the most granular I can get it at for those. I just don't have it at the city level going back in time. Reach out to them, they claim to ask, so I have. But yeah, this last section here on the Alice population is not to, is just to inform you, here's what the populations we're working with, we're dealing with. And when businesses are making decisions, real estate companies, corporations are making decisions on where to locate, they're looking at this type of data on the back end. And that's how they're making decision patterns. So as you can see here, with Airway Heights is at a little bit lower than we are. That's attracting a certain different business clientele over there in Airway Heights and in Cheney. Now, the other thing that's really driving the businesses in Airway Heights is the traffic counts on Highway 2. And that's really driving the train more than anything else. But these are all being kept into the thing. Now, a place like Walmart there in Airway Heights, or there off of Hayford, it's kind of split between Spokane and Airway Heights. They're not looking at the very micro level. They're looking at, hey, we're servicing the West Plains. And we're driving that shopping center. So they're probably not looking at the small numbers. But they are looking at these numbers for theft prevention, how to handle that kind of stuff. That kind of goes into their mixture. You know, of all the Walmarts in Spokane, the one out there on Sprague out there near Havana Street has some of the highest theft rates. And, you know, that makes a determination if they're gonna have to close the store this year, that's how they make those decisions. So, you know, so no, this is all the kind of information out there on populations and things like that at the city level. So, way more or less for information. Any thoughts, questions?
Or could you send that to us?
Yeah, I can
I'd
email
like
it
to
to
be able to look at that.
Yeah,
more
I'd
detail.
like to see that too.
Yeah, I'll email too.
Any other questions for Brett on this issue?
Well, just pivoting back to capital funding with the opportunity zones in Alice, I mean, does the government help with infrastructure in those zones? I'm getting, we're talking about separate topics here, but I'm also still on the infrastructure. I mean, will the government help support communities with infrastructure that have an opportunity zone or an Alice zone? Is that help
You
that from
can,
that perspective?
you can, sometimes, we've used that for our advantage when we do the, projects with the water main improvements and replacements in Cheney, when we've gone through, the CDBG process in Spokane County. We look, because we have some of those challenged areas, we score high.
Yeah.
So a lot of times it's a match. So if we'll put some money into it, they'll match it with some money. And that's more of what it is than anything else. It's probably the matching deal.
Okay.
We've been really good on the infrastructure side of the ledger. On the economic development for bringing business in, we really haven't worked with that much. But there are programs out there for, with HUD and other things to match dollars. This is the question of coming up with dollars to match it with.
Okay.
Again, tonight's thing on tax increment, opportunity zones and Alice stuff is purely informational, just to show you what's
Three
out there.
different topics.
This is the topic, what's out there, what's information, what data we have to work with to understand our community and with some of the tools we have in the toolbox. So,
Thanks, Brett.
yeah.
Moving on to item number 6, commissioner reports. Any reports from our commissioners?
Yeah, I have one item. I spent last week in central Iowa, with a colleague who is active in the Iowa Small Towns program. This basically is state universities, especially Iowa State, assisting small towns in the sort of problems that we're talking about here with Cheney. And we went out and toured a number of towns in the north central Iowa place. I know Brett has been to many of these places and he knows what I'm talking about. There are some incredible things going on in small town development in the 21st century, in traditionally agricultural towns in the Midwest. I saw this in the Dakotas, I saw it in Minnesota, but I especially saw it in Iowa. And I have in the past said that one of the things that Cheney needs desperately is to spend the money to hire a person who is an expert in these sorts of things and who can draw on experiences that other small towns are having in other parts of the country and bring this expertise here and try to get Cheney moving again. I mean, I saw some little towns of 3,000 or 4,000 people that I wouldn't mind living in. I mean, even though they're close to large metropolitan areas, in this case, we were no more than 30 or 40 miles from Des Moines. And yet the towns have virtually everything you need. Grocery stores, inexpensive housing, quality housing, by the way. It may have been built 100 years ago, but it's still quality housing. And I was just really blown away by the success of the Iowa Small Towns program. And Washington has a similar program, although Eastern's planning department hasn't been very active in it. So, and I don't know what's going on down there now that I'm retired, but Anyway, I just want you to know that there's hope out there on the horizon, and there are people that know what they're doing. And some of these ideas could greatly benefit us, but I don't see any hope right now until we decide to spend a little money and hire an expert to get some improvements.
An economic development expert, is that what?
An economic development expert, but also expertise in things like housing and jobs and integrating the university into the community better than it is now. There's just lots of opportunities there that we're not taking advantage of.
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate that. Anything else from any of the other commissioners?
I have a suggestion I was gonna bring forward. My fellow commissioners, one thing as a relatively new commissioner on this board is I feel like I don't have a real grasp of infrastructure, the utilities we have in Cheney. And personally, I think it'd be beneficial if we did workshops, spent a little time going over stuff like water and sewer, like what actually we have in Cheney. Road improvements, do we have a capital construction plan for roads and other critical infrastructure? Power, electricity. I know as we move forward in our comprehensive plan process, I think it benefit me personally just to maybe get a presentation from Public Works of saying, this is the amount of water we have in Cheney. We have so many wells, and is it actually going to be near where is water and sewer near our future development, or how much they're going to, or how do we plan to get it there? So I was just going to throw it out there. Maybe once every meeting we spend a little time, we get a briefing on water, sewer, and other critical infrastructure. Just wanted to put that out there.
We can make that happen.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate that.
We're not working on this power system. Supply department's working on the power plant and also goes to the light.
Okay.
And hopefully the next couple of months, that's something that they can share.
Yeah, or like purple pipe presentation would be really good, I think. What's the next phase, or what's
Yeah, we can show the whole water system plan, which, obviously, purple pipe's gonna have a major impact on that. So, yeah, absolutely, we can.
It's a good idea.
We can do some informational sessions on that.
And maybe we could add that to the agenda, just, water this time, power, internet, whatever, and just kind of get an update instead of giving us overload, where we can assimilate it all.
Yeah, like one topic. Is there anything else anyone else be interested in? Those were just mine. Broadband would be interesting. Internet access.
Well, I say, if anybody can think of anything else, please let Brett know. And he can work with getting that set up so we can be more thoroughly informed of all of the infrastructure stuff that's going on here in town. Any other commissioner reports? Moving on to item number 7, staff reports.
Yeah, just a couple things. So based on what you guys just mentioned, I had talked to Todd about that conceptually a while back. He has no problem with that, so we'll get that on the list here to do informational items here on different topics over the next several months, kind of feed them out to you guys. In response to what Dan mentioned on the Iowa small towns, he's absolutely correct. I've been back there, several of those towns. Iowa's a unique state with 99 counties. Because of that unique geography, you can be 30 miles from Des Moines and have a hospital in a small town of 3,000 people and have a 25-bed hospital. It's just unique geography of Iowa, but yeah, there's some stuff going on back there. I was just last weekend over in Issaquah for a wedding, and on the way back, stopped through Ellensburg a little bit, drive around. They got a lot of good things going on in Ellensburg. Clean downtown, thriving downtown, clean campus, stuff going on. You have kind of downtown Ellensburg and interstate down Ellensburg, I call it. All the fast food stuff is that kind of don't intersect sometimes. But a lot going on, even a lot going on the west end. I know there's a lot of new development out there with the truck stops and things like that before you start going more toward Clayholm. So if Ellensburg could do it, I think there are ideas out there we can look at, and we should start thinking about those things, start making that trajectory for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And the comprehensive plan we're doing right now, is a perfect opportunity to start thinking about that. And speaking of which, just talked to the consultants last week. They're gonna be sending out invitations here soon, for people for stakeholders and people, and doing other public engagement events. For getting, public comment on the comprehensive plan, what people like to see in the plan, what people want to see in Cheney. This is that time we can start putting that into the plan and start driving that comprehensive plan update. So, I'll be having some stuff to report on that to you guys here next month, here in October.
I think we starting that this fall, winter, early next year.
They're gonna start the engagement process this fall, winter. So that's kind of the engagement process, and they'll be kind of, working through the chapters next year. The heavy lifting will be really the transportation chapter, the land use chapter, and the housing element. Those are the three, the heavy lifting ones, because we now have to comply with House Bill 1220, which is the whole middle housing thing, kind of how that plays out for Cheney. Land use, where UGB stands today, does it need to be shrunken a little bit? As you guys all probably know, we have that 10-acre land swap process kind of still out there going on. One of the things we've gotten back from the state is, hey, yeah, we can entertain the idea, but you guys need to right size your UGA. So that's something we probably need to do here as part of the comprehensive plan update. We can kind of defer it to that, and get that moving forward as well. Then obviously transportation needs to kind of fit in there as well and be sized appropriately. Looking at interchanges, level of service, family intersections, things like that. So those will be the three heavy pillars. And there's other chapters that we'll be updating, like I say, Parks and Recreation. Now that we have a new aquatic center coming on board, we need to make sure that's included in there. And that will be the basis for when we get around to updating the Parks and Rec plan, which is probably gonna be coming on board in the next couple of years, get that updated. Economic development elements gonna be in there again. We can have goals and policies to start driving this stuff towards tax increment financing, other things could be now identified in the plan. These are tools we want to encourage, because then I can go after grants if I have it backed up with the comp plan. If I don't have it backed up in the comp plan, it's hard for me to go after the dollars. So this is kind of our chance here. If we don't do it, put it in the plan as something we like to see, then at least I can at least have that as the overarching document. So yeah, there'll be more stuff, and I'll bring that to you guys next month.
Brett, can you give us an update on the purple pipe, and then also, we're still on schedule for the aquatic center?
Yeah, as far as I know, the purple pipe, they're working on construction right now, the UV filtration system out there. And they're doing the boring. They bored under the Union Pacific tracks. They bored the sleeve or the conduit for the pipe. They're now doing that under the BNSF tracks right there by Les Schwab. So as you go underneath,
I've been by there several times the last couple of weeks.
yeah, there's some big,
Todd's actually online. He can
Oh.
fill us in. Todd, you wanna go ahead?
yeah, your hands up. Todd, you here? Yeah, on the Matterhorn.
He's on mute.
All right, I'm back.
There
Thank
go.
you. Yeah, I'll give you the update on the purple pipe. We've had 4 tasks in the purple pipe. We have went out to bid, and we have contractors in line for task 3 of the tasks. We're looking now at the main distribution line, which is probably one of our largest processes. We're estimating that right around a 7 million or so. And that's going to take that line about 2.5 miles from the treatment plant all the way up to the 50-acre park. What you're seeing going on at the railroad track is the actual boring of the casing under both UP and Burlington Northern. That way we don't have this long lag of when we start installing that purple pipe. Once the purple pipe is under contract, we're looking at probably a spring finish in 2026. We're hoping to get this under contract by the end of the year, and let the contractor work pretty much all year round, weather providing, in certain areas to get this pipe kind of coming up through the plant. It's going to come up to the aquatics facility, kind of cut over, go down North 8th. It's going to pick up the high school. Then it's going to come right across basically Golden Hills right around that North 8. It's going to pick up Kronk's Field. It's going to pick up the Cheney Middle School, and then it's going to go underneath Betts Road into the 50-acre park. So that's the main line in the first phase of the Purple Pipe, is to take all of those irrigated areas. And hopefully we'll get that under Purple Pipe during the 2026 irrigation season. Yeah, if anybody wants a tour, please just let me know. I'll be happy to arrange where we're at right now, especially with our final treatment, and go from there. If I may, the aquatics facility, so far we are on track for an opening in summer of 2025, before the first day of summer with the public schools. Everything is there has been there's been some critical things that we need to overcome, but I don't think they're too time consuming. So I think we're going to make up some good time. We did have a few surprises in the underground with some unsuitable soils very deep, but that has been already mitigated. And the contractor, you'll see a lot of concrete starting to be poured around there, with the anticipation to get the building under cover before winter so we can finish that project. So, and I will be happy to share all of the infrastructure plans. I think what we're looking at is what we call ERUs, equivalent residential units. How much capacity do we have in our water system plan, and how much capacity do we have in our sewer? Where do those mains extend? Who installs those mains? Who installs the water mains, the sewer mains, the streets? How we look at development as a whole. And I think another good one to add is just an update on where our building is. How many residential, how many new houses are we getting? How many commercials? That gives you kind of a real big picture of how we are growing. One thing to really be keyed in is the pretty much the Four Lakes interchange. We are having some good discussions right now with DOT. They do realize that 904 is at a critical failing level just because of the amount of traffic that kind of goes through there. So I think it's important for Cheney to kind of step up and be role in that interchange, and not so much the interchange itself, but maybe be able to tell the story of 904, and what that impact is. We're seeing more and more traffic coming down that interchange day in and day out. So any other items that you want to address, I'd be happy to do reports. Just let me know. So, and I think that's all I have. Did I miss anything?
I don't
Yeah, you
think,
probably don't want to go into the blow-by-blow details of the Department of Health. That was one of the big,
Yeah, that one has been entertaining. So yeah, sometimes I will maybe sit down and kind of talk about that. But it really comes to be that the aquatics facility is going to be an amazing facility. We're prepping up to say this is more than just, you go to a pool, you get wet. There is so much that we want to plan going around that area. We want to have every weekend plugged in. We want to make it a destination area. That was a whole concept when we started designing this, is how do we make this? So it's not only about kids having a good time, going down the slides, taking advantage of all the amenities that are in the pool, but also we're talking food truck vendors. We are talking concerts in the park, movies in the park. We're going to try to establish the park as a whole beyond the boundaries of the aquatics facility, mostly to the north and then also to the east. So I think it's a good opportunity to make this more of a destination area. And early in the reports, they were anticipating that potentially over the whole season that we could have visitors of about over 70,000. So that would be something good for Cheney when we open that aquatics facility.
thank you, Todd. Any questions
Hey.
for the staff? Hearing none, we will stand adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate your time, your questions.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks, David.